today we continue with our cycle of Bicentennial Dialogues with Silvia Escanilla Huerta, PhD candidate, who will talk to us about the Liberation Expeditions and the Proclamation of the Peruvian Independence. Silvia received her bachelor's degree from the University of Buenos Aires in 2008 and has a master's degree from the University of San Andres in Buenos Aires. She is now completing her doctoral dissertation at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, proposing a new interpretation of the process of independence in Peru between 1783 and 1828. She has edited a book and published several articles on her proposal and has also conducted research on numerous archives in Argentina, Peru, Bolivia, and Spain. Currently, she is a 2020-2021 Research Fellow at the Institute of Research in Humanities at the University of Illinois. Thank you very much for joining us, Silvia, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, and thank you for hosting this initiative. Today we're going to talk about the Peruvian campaigns and the Declaration of Independence. As you know, there was a coordinated organization of the Liberating Army that went to Peru. Jose San Martin, which was an Argentinian general, was in charge of it, and the Chilean government paid for the organization of this fleet. They left Valparaíso in Chile on August 21st, 1820, and it took them around a month to get to the central coast of the Viceroyalty of Peru. They arrived in the Bay of Paracas in September 8, 1820. That's the moment that the, let's say, invasion actually took place, and they quickly took control of the city of Ica. And so the plan of San Martin was to gain the inhabitants of the Viceroyalty to the independentist side. So he sent a set of proclamations, but he also organized or requested the Patriot General Juan Antonio Álvarez de Arenales to organize a campaign to the highlands in which Álvarez de Arenales was supposed to convince the inhabitants of joining the independentist cause, and that's what he did with a small regiment. He left Ica in October of 1820 and went straight to the highlands and stopping in Huamanga, where he proclaimed the independence, actually on November 1st, 1820, and then he stopped in Cangallo, Jauja, Tarma again, and then there was a big battle. That's the one big battle of this campaign. It was in December 6, 1820, against the Royalist forces, and the General Diego O'Reilly was in charge of the Royalist army. That was a big triumph for Álvarez de Arenales and his army. And the most relevant thing about the campaign is that Álvarez de Arenales was very successful at helping the inhabitants of small cities and towns on its route to the highlands to organize themselves militarily. So the most the interesting thing about this campaign is how successful they were at organizing people, and how people went on board with not only with the independentist ideas, but also with the idea of organizing local militias, defending themselves, and actually aiding the independentist army in their quest to defeat the Royalist army. So that's the most interesting aspect, the local participation, let's say, in the Álvarez de Arenales campaign. They were very successful, and they finally arrived in Huaura in around December of 1820, and parallel to the campaign, the royalist side has suffered a couple of defections. The Voltígeros de la Guardia, which was a battalion, defected to the Patriot side. The same thing happened with another regiment in Asnapuquio, and finally Viceroy Pezuela, who had been the viceroy of the Viceroyalty of Peru and from 1816 until 1821, he was actually ousted by one of his general, José de la Serna, in January of 1821. So the royalist side was also in a bit of a disarray, and the pressure from the Álvarez de Arenales campaigns, the organization of local militias, and which were also called guerrillas at the time, and how these guerrillas pressured the royalist forces, is what led to de la Serna's decision to leave, to abandon Lima and move the royalist government to the city of Cusco. That happened in June 1821, and that's what allowed José de San Martín to go to Lima and actually invite the population to swear an oath to the independent cause. They actually signed the Act of Independence of Peru on July 5th, 1821, and finally there was a proclamation, which is the famous proclamation in which he announces that now Peru is free and independent, by the people's will. That happened, as we all know, on July 28th, 1821. That was the general proclamation, but the signature of the declaration actually happened on July 15th. So that's kind of the trajectory between the landing of the liberating army that came from Rio de la Plata and Chile, and finally the Declaration of Independence in 1821.
Thank you very much. I've always wondered why San Martín chose Paracas to land.
There have been, he sent quite a bunch of spies, like several people kind of survey the central coast of the Viceroyalty. He had, since 1818, he had been looking for places to land his expedition, and he was advised that that area was similarly to Huaura and Huacho, those were the two areas that actually are, Lima is in between, let's say, these two areas, that were the best ones for organizing a landing. So he had a lot of intelligence going on, and that's why he decided to go there. It wasn't just, by chance.
I made the question because Paracas is very well known for its winds that carry much sand, and that could have been something that would have been annoying, to say the least, if they had that luck to find the famous Paraca wind.
Right. Well, the conditions were not the best, especially in the 19th century. As maybe people don't know, but when they San Martín landed in Paracas, but then they moved the majority of the regiments to Huaura, and then they everybody, including San Martín, caught a disease there because of the kind of like the combination of humidity and insects and so they actually suffer because of the environmental conditions in the coast of Peru. So it wasn't all perfect.
Thank you very much,
You're
Silvia.
welcome.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome.